I'm Johann Kotze, and I'm the CEO of Agricultural South Africa, which is AgriSA in short, and that is the representation of farmers in South Africa.
Brilliant. And you've just been talking to us in the conference about the kind of vision of how South African agriculture is adapting to the changing economic circumstances, and you showed a very optimistic picture about how we can move with things. What's your sort of key message, you think, for the people in this room in the cold chain about the prospects for agriculture in South Africa?
So I think there's a massive need just on the population growth in the rest of the world, especially Africa. And then we see pressure on, I would say, the planet that we utilize, natural resources. And how do you manage that? So I think a lot of people see that as a difficulty, adversity that you need to come and kind of overcome. We see it differently. We see it as a massive opportunity, number one. But I think the greatest thing is we see it as a responsibility. And it's if it ignited us as farmers to say, but you know what, we have a massive role to play in not just South Africa or Southern Africa, but to the rest of the world. It might be knowledge, it might be produce that we export as what we do now. And I think that excitement is something that was ignited out of a concept of we need to take responsibility for this. So as a South African farmer, I would say to you that climate change is not something that's new, although the impact thereof is devastating, and I think the occurrence is much different than we had in the past. However, for a long time, we've learned how to live with this climate that we are used to. And I think as farmers, we're not that far behind. I'm talking about commercial farmers. I think for us then, the outcome of climate change and what is going to come with climate change is there needs to be a greater play technology for small-scale farmers, because it is costly. And we need to speak into it, because small-scale farmers contribute massively to food security in Africa and South Africa. It might sound like it's small bits of pieces, but if you add it up, it's massive into Africa. So there's a massive focus that we need to put into bringing new tech into climate-smart farming, specifically for small-scale farmers.
Thank you. And one of the things you talked about in your presentation was the importance of infrastructure. Yeah. And infrastructure is a barrier to that trade flow. Yeah. So how do you see that interaction between what the farmers are producing and how they get it to market within the cold chain?
So logistically, I think we battle in Africa. And if you go rural and you take rural roads, rural farms, remember every time we burst a tire or every time we overturn a truck, somewhere that cost needs to come from. So it's either you add it to the value of the produce or you invest less next year. So both of it have a great impact on food security. So for us, it starts rural. It starts with the smallest road being kept, and then that produce coming into a logistic chain, and then that logistic chain going out. We saw what happened with the ports when we couldn't export anymore. So even the food secure countries couldn't export during that time, and that created food insecurity. So logistic-wise, it is a massive play into food security. So food security is not just about the availability of food, of the affordability of food, but it is about can people get their hands on food that is needed. And I think that's a big play.
Thank you. And one of the key themes of today's conference is talking about the opportunity of the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. How does that fit in? How does that kind of bringing the trading together for the continent itself? What does the trade agreement itself mean? How is that needed?
So I think the main thing about that is firstly that we see ourselves as a continent, and we act as Africa. So it's not South Africa and the rest of Africa. It's Southern Africa, Western, Eastern Africa, and I think there's role plays due to the demographics that we share. But the first thing for the free trade for me is, which excites me as a South African, is there's a focus on Africa. So the amount of food that came from outside could be produced inside Africa, and I think it is. But logistically, I think we, to a certain extent, there's a trade barrier. That's the one thing. The other thing is, there's some difficulties in opening up markets and opening up borders just to have free trade. But you know what? If you never have the vision to have that, you're never going to overcome that challenges. And what is good about what is happening with this free trade is all of a sudden there's a focus and you must fix it. And now the fix is going to come. So a massive opportunity for us as Africans, being suppliers to the extent that we could into Africa.
That's fantastic. Johann, thank you so much for your support. We look forward to working with you in the months and years ahead.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Johann. Thank you.